Hello again, everybody. We are going to be looking at a top Duraludon player, and so it's not like the top, That's something to always be conscious of when we do these, is just that, well, I would actually argue that some people can play a Pokemon very differently and both kind of be the tops. I don't know. I hope it makes sense why this is a little bit ambiguous, but ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get this thing started. So this is actually a focus commentary. Most of what we do on this channel is going to be more esports style, spectating the whole team. Well, this is focusing on Duraludon, and just to get it out of the way, we cannot see the items in this part of spectator mode. If you're in like a custom tourney mode or something and you get to be an admin, that would be how you view item sets of players. But anyway, we know that Duraludon, some good items, of course, sticking with that buddy barrier, that's almost for every Pokemon out there. It's just so good. But Focus Band and Muscle Band are also great choices. When you think about how you want to play your Duraludon, that's also important. So like maybe prioritizing damage, attack, like Scope Lens, you could go for your crits. And of course, I already mentioned Muscle Band. I'm sure somebody could make a case for like attack weight or something. So this is probably very obvious at this point, especially with a lot of these focus commentaries saying the same thing, is hey, it's going to depend a little bit on your playstyle and build choice. Eject button, X attack, those are things that can work okay for Duraludon. I'm a little bit less concerned with the battle item, honestly. But what we will most likely see, of course, and there it is, the confirmation of Dragon Pulse as Lucario just pulls off this amazing clutch KO right there. Lots of higher point values for this early on, dunked in on that top path. But aside from Dragon Pulse, we will likely see Stealth Rock to go with that. That's not like the only viable thing to choose, but if you're going to go Dragon Pulse, it's going to work really well with Stealth Rock. We'll talk about that in a second. When you're playing your Duraludon, like a lot of the times you can hang out behind your allies. I would say mostly if you're running like Flash Cannon, you can just sentry up, kind of hang out behind the lines like a turret, and you'd be able to hit opponents just from really far away. But most of the time, and this was definitely evident with people that I was spectating, but hey, even myself, and I'm sure a lot of you, if you've been playing Duraludon, is that really Dragon Pulse seems to be kind of that more meta pick. It's going to be picked more often, at least from my observations. So here's maybe some more meat and potatoes about Duraludon, is that if you're going to hit somebody with a standard attack, if it's the beginning and you have Metal Claw, that, or basically Stealth Rock, you're going to mark the opponent, and that can be stacked up 5 times. They get removed after like a set time if you haven't hit them for a while, but you can see it right there on the Zarina player, which is Steenie right now. But the marking is really great for Dragon Pulse, so when you do activate that Dragon Pulse, you'll do more damage if you're hitting your marked targets, and just they work really well with your basic attacks and your Dragon Pulse going off and on. Looks like they're going to burst down this Dreadnought really quickly, and you notice, of course, the Dragon Pulse kind of for that last hit. Very nice for objectives. So when we were talking about Dragonite, for instance, when that first launched, it was definitely kind of that similar principle that the Pokemon was pretty good at taking down objectives, even solo. Duraludon has some of that, just a little bit, but notice they're on a wild Greedent chase. It's like a wild goose chase, but this Greedent is severely underleveled compared to our Duraludon player, but notice this. That's the move, that Dragon Pulse, man. So if you're just trying to get those fleeing types, I feel like Duraludon was really good for maybe an anti-Greedent measure. So we are seeing that this one here, they are running X attack, and ultimately I think we could confirm Stealth Rock right there. I should have been watching to see if they've deployed that yet. Notice, of course, another Invader here in their central area, and so they are going to go ahead. Wow, so that Zarina, very nice with the HP recovery coming in clutch, but will ultimately lose its life actually to Ninetales. Big part of it, though, was Duraludon right here, our Duraludon player, and so it may be really obvious, so we're looking a little bit more at basics here, but with Stealth Rock, you can put that like on top of the allied goal or in a choke point, things like this. Those are great places for Stealth Rock. It's just sort of especially thinking about places that would pressure. I don't know what's happening here, but there is actually our first look at the Revolving Ruin, and then the Fairy Singularity goes down from orange, completely preventing that. So actually, as the events of that play transpired and all unfolded, I figured out they were trying to go score where the Rotom had touched down on that goal, and so this Duraludon player actually very unfortunate to run into Gardevoir right there with Fairy Singularity to obviously like a black hole just pulled it in the other direction. But right now it's trying to take on Dreadnought by itself, but it looks like the rest of the team will go ahead and help. But you could see, most of that damage was dealt through Duraludon by Duraludon. I guess it's just, again, this is a little bit more on the basics, but just in case you are maybe a fan of Flash Cannon or you see someone else running that build, just know, of course, for those who are unaware and maybe don't play it, you can still activate other abilities while you're in the Flash Cannon, like turret mode or whatever. And so that would be where you use like Dragon Tail, almost like an eject button. You can move while you're actually still in the Flash Cannon as a turret. And so, ladies and gentlemen, there was a Stealth Rock use there on the Rotom that was actually, it was a good look at something you could do, really. You see how marked that Rotom is. It's got a lot of that marking on it, and wow, the Greedent will come in and steal at the last second, so there's definitely a danger. We all know that, though, Duraludon or not, if you're just a solo Pokemon right now hitting that objective, effective. That's the danger, right? And so this was actually enemy Duraludons trying to show us the power of that Dragon Pulse and using that at the last second. You can see that they actually used an eject button and then being pursued. So our Duraludon focus, wow, look at this. So this is a wonderful example of the damage potential of Dragon Pulse. They got in a lot of those standard attacks, you know, so the basic attack, hit them as much as possible, at least 5 times, and then just release that Dragon Pulse. Devastating. And obviously you got to hold it down longer for it to reach a wider area of effect. But you think of the flash cannon, sort of like the Gatling Bolt missile, you know, with Cramorant. That's the Unite move for Cramorant. You might be standing still, but you can use an eject button to go forward, for example, just to keep on hitting more people, or use your Dragon Tail in the opposite direction, because of course, your Dragon Tail sends you backwards, so wherever Duraludon's inhaler butt is facing, that's the direction that you're going to move in. And so we're going to be staring down the final stretch here pretty soon, but once again, that objective stealing power of Dragon Pulse, or if not objective stealing, really just objective damage dealing, and then devastating to this Zarina that was up in this Duraludon's face. It was able to close the distance, but Duraludon doing what it should, I would say. Apply that pressure, have those marks, and end it off with that Dragon Pulse. We'll have to see if and how they use it, but presumably, you know, with the final stretch now being here and the Zapdos fight probably being inevitable, we'll have to see if they use the Revolving Ruin once again. That's going to be the Unite move for Duraludon, although you can certainly activate it in these team fights like the enemy Duraludon just has. It is one of those moves just that it has such a wide circle area of effect that it can sometimes be best just to keep your distance when you activate that Unite move. There it is. There's the Revolving Ruin. Wow, it went a lot faster than I thought, but the range is just wide enough to hit those opponents from afar. It's going to give Duraludon a shield and also increase its attack if the beam does hit an opponent from Revolving Ruin, and just the more Pokemon you hit with that beam, the more powerful those buffs are going to be. It looks like this Duraludon player going to get that Zapdos as well, and just for specifying again to people who don't play it very often, there is some damage that's dealt to your opponents in the area of effect after that beam of light is fired from the Unite move, and of course, you know, they'll take damage if they touch that fire, the burning ring that's on the ground, the Ring of Fire. They lose some move speed, so it's a decent Unite move. Unsure what's happening with this Greedent here. I was thinking that they were just kind of like staking out and really waiting for that opportunity to score right here on that bottom goal, but they haven't even moved like just a centimeter, you know, so they may actually have just like given up. I'm not sure. Ninetale's actually not going to detect them right now. They haven't gotten close enough to that tall grass, so this is a little bit of an interesting stance still. I really think that Greedent's just idling though, because like even if you idle in battle deliberately, you usually want to move just a little bit after a while. You don't want the game and your allies to think that you're actually idling and get penalized for it, but Ninetale's actually hitting the Greedent finally there, but again, I think they're just, okay, now they're moving. I don't know, man, that who knows? We weren't in their head or anything, and there's going to be one last Revolving Ruin, gosh, just to add some insult to injury for that orange squad. So yeah, definitely Purple's going to take that one. Very nice games. I feel like Duraludon is not extremely broken. You know, sometimes they'll launch something like Dragonite Greedent when it first launched, and they are a lot more OP just in general, but Duraludon folds in mostly well. You know, I think Hoopa and Duraludon, when they see some kind of nerf inevitably happen, it's going to be like smaller things, I believe, not in like huge ways. So 549 for that Purple squad to 208 on Orange. Good job to them. Look at the breakdowns here on screen, and of course, if you want to see more focus commentaries for whichever character you play, please feel free to click the full playlist as an end screen on screen, and thanks for viewing.